The story of the Roman Empire begins with a small settlement on the banks of the Tiber River in what is now Italy. According to legend, the city of Rome was founded in 753 BCE by Romulus and Remus, twin brothers raised by a she-wolf. But beyond the myth lies a historical truth. Rome began as a modest village among many others in the region of Latium. Over time it expanded, absorbing neighbors and asserting its dominance. Rome was first a monarchy, ruled by a series of kings. However, in 509 BCE, the last king, Tarquin the Proud, was overthrown, and Rome transitioned into a republic. This new system was unique, had elected officials, a senate, and checks and balances, although true power remained in the hands of the aristocracy. The Roman Republic grew by forging alliances and defeating rival city-states. Through military might and diplomatic cunning, Rome expanded its territory across the Italian peninsula. The Roman army was one of the most disciplined and effective fighting forces in history. Legionaries were well-trained, heavily armed soldiers who built roads, forts, and even entire cities. Military service was a path to wealth and status, and Rome rewarded its soldiers generously. These incentives fueled the growth of the empire. The Punic Wars, fought against the powerful city of Carthage, demonstrated Rome's determination. After 3 brutal conflicts, Rome destroyed Carthage in 146 BCE, securing control over the western Mediterranean. But expansion came at a cost. The growing wealth gap between Rome's elite and the common citizens led to unrest. Reformers like the Gracchus brothers tried to redistribute land and improve conditions for the poor, but they were met with resistance and ultimately assassinated. Civil wars erupted, and generals like Marius and Sulla fought for power, eroding the republican ideals. Amid this chaos rose Julius Caesar, a brilliant military leader who conquered Gaul and crossed the Rubicon in defiance of the Senate. Julius Caesar declared himself dictator for life, but his concentration of power alarmed many. In 44 BCE, he was assassinated by a group of senators who hoped to restore the republic. Instead, Rome plunged into further chaos. Out of the ashes emerged Caesar's adopted son, Octavian, later known as Augustus. He defeated his rivals, including Mark Antony and Cleopatra, and became Rome's first emperor in 27 BCE. The Republic was dead. The empire was born. Under Augustus, Rome experienced a golden age. The Pax Romana, or Roman peace, lasted over 200 years. Trade flourished, roads and aqueducts were built, and the empire expanded from Britain in the west to Mesopotamia in the east. Roman law, culture, and language spread throughout the known world. Emperors like Trajan, Hadrian, and Marcus Aurelius continued this legacy. The Colosseum, Pantheon, and Roman forums are lasting testaments to their power and architectural genius. The Roman Empire was a melting pot of cultures, languages, and religions. It embraced Greek philosophy, Egyptian mysticism, and Eastern religions. One of the most significant events in Roman history was the rise of Christianity. Initially persecuted, Christians were martyred in arenas and prisons. But in the 4th century, Emperor Constantine legalized Christianity and converted himself. By the end of the century, it became the empire's official religion, forever transforming its identity. Despite its strength, cracks began to form. The empire became too large to manage effectively. Corruption spread in the government. Heavy taxation burdened the population. The Roman legions were often composed of foreign mercenaries with little loyalty. Civil wars returned, and rival emperors weakened unity. In 285 CE, the empire was split into eastern and western halves by Emperor Diocletian to improve governance. While the east thrived, the west continued to decline. The Western Roman Empire faced relentless pressure from barbarian tribes. The Visigoths, led by Alaric, sacked Rome in 410 CE, a shocking blow to a city once thought invincible. Vandals followed, raiding Roman territories. The Huns under Attila posed a serious threat but were turned back. The Western Empire grew weaker with each passing year. In 476 CE, the last Roman emperor, Romulus Augustulus, was deposed by the Germanic chieftain Odoacer. It marked the fall of the Western Roman Empire. Meanwhile, the Eastern Roman Empire, later known as the Byzantine Empire, endured for another 1,000 years. Its capital, Constantinople, became a beacon of art, culture, and learning. Emperors like Justinian sought to reclaim lost Western lands and codified Roman law, which still influences modern legal systems. But the dream of a united Roman world was over. The legacy of Rome lived on. Its legal systems, architecture, language, and governance shaped the Western world. Latin became the root of many modern languages. Roman engineering inspired aqueducts, roads, and public buildings throughout Europe. The concept of a republic influenced the formation of modern democracies. Even today, Roman ideals and imagery are embedded in governments, literature, and art. Rome's rise was built on ambition, innovation, and discipline. Its fall was due to internal decay, overextension, and relentless external pressure. But no single cause explains the fall completely. It was a combination of events, decisions, and historical tides. The Roman Empire teaches us that even the mightiest civilizations can collapse, and that true legacy is not just in conquest, but in the ideas and systems left behind. From humble beginnings to world domination, Rome's journey is a powerful story of human achievement and human frailty. It ruled the known world through sheer will, military excellence, and cultural absorption. Its leaders were visionaries and tyrants, philosophers and warriors, and its history is a mirror reflecting the triumphs and tragedies of all empires. Though the empire fell, the idea of Rome lived on. In the medieval era, rulers from Charlemagne to the Russian czars claimed the mantle of Rome. The Roman Catholic Church became a spiritual heir. Renaissance scholars rediscovered Roman texts and revived classical knowledge. The Enlightenment thinkers revered Roman law and citizenship. Even in modern pop culture, Rome fascinates us. From films to novels, we remain captivated by gladiators, Caesars, and the Eternal City. The ruins of Rome still stand, echoing the voices of centuries. The Colosseum, once filled with cheering crowds, now reminds us of a brutal past. The Roman Forum, where senators debated and emperors paraded, is now a silent witness to fallen grandeur. The roads, those legendary Roman roads, many still exist, carrying travelers as they once carried legions. The story of Rome is the story of civilization itself. It is a tale of how a city conquered the world and how the world eventually conquered the city. Rome teaches us that greatness requires both strength and wisdom, and that empires are as fragile as they are mighty. As long as history is studied, the Roman Empire will stand as a towering Lucena, symbol of human potential, and a warning of its limits. The fall of the Roman Empire did not happen in a single moment. It was a slow unraveling. Political instability plagued the empire for centuries. Emperors came and went in rapid succession, many assassinated by their own guards or rivals. This constant power struggle eroded the unity of the empire and fostered corruption at every level of administration. The people lost faith in the leadership, and the bureaucracy became bloated and ineffective. One of the most devastating elements was the economic collapse. Rome's economy had once thrived on conquest, trade, and slave labor. But as expansion ceased and enemies closed in, Rome's income dwindled. Inflation spiraled out of control. A once glorious currency, the denarius, became virtually worthless. Heavy taxation forced farmers off their lands, and food production plummeted. Cities emptied as citizens fled to rural areas for survival. The spiritual transformation of the empire also changed its course, with Christianity becoming the official religion. The old Roman identity, rooted in pagan rituals, traditional gods, and civic festivals, was replaced by a new moral and religious order. This created cultural conflicts between the old guard and the new believers. Though Christianity ultimately unified people under a common faith, it also weakened the traditional Roman institutions that had held the empire together for centuries. Meanwhile, the Eastern Roman Empire, Byzantine Empire, was adapting. Unlike the West, which faltered, the East evolved. Greek became the dominant language, and Constantinople became a center of commerce, diplomacy, and learning. It was heavily fortified and well managed, capable of resisting invaders for generations. While Rome fell, Constantinople survived and even thrived under emperors like Justinian I, who dreamed of reuniting the old empire and briefly reconquered parts of North Africa and Italy. Roman military decline was another critical factor. Once the pride of the empire, the Roman legions were gradually replaced by hired mercenaries, who lacked loyalty to Rome. These foreign soldiers often switched sides or rebelled. The discipline, pride, and engineering prowess that once built a global power faded away. The infrastructure crumbled, and roads once symbols of order were left to decay, further isolating regions of the empire. As the Western Empire fell, knowledge too was lost. Great libraries were destroyed, and with them centuries of accumulated wisdom. Art, science, and philosophy went into decline across much of Europe, ushering in what historians later called the Dark Ages. Yet in the East, the Byzantine Empire preserved Roman and Greek texts, which would eventually help ignite the Renaissance centuries later in Western Europe. The fall of Rome was not just a political or military event, it was the collapse of an entire worldview. For the Roman citizen, it meant the loss of identity, security, and civilization itself. Yet even in its destruction, Rome inspired countless generations. The concept of a unified Europe under law, order, and infrastructure would re-emerge again and again. The Holy Roman Empire, Napoleonic France, and even modern unions. In many ways, Rome never truly died. Its architecture still shapes our cities. Its laws form the backbone of Western justice. Its language Latin lives on in modern Romance languages and scientific terminology. Its stories, myths, and heroes continue to captivate us in books, films, and classrooms. Rome is not just a city, it is an idea, mortal, powerful, and deeply embedded in the human story.